During this time where so many of us are isolated and feel confined to these spaces, and the orders that we're getting from the government, the news, everything that's around us seems to be kind of crashing in on a lot of folks, and I'm hearing it every day. So we've asked Dr. Alan Liebert, who's a licensed marriage and family therapist, to talk to us a little bit about what we're missing out on. And some people are calling it grief, and you're a grief specialist. Am I feeling something like that? Is that a
Yeah,
real thing?
yes, it's absolutely true. I just want to clarify something. I'm not a doctor, but I am a licensed marriage family
Oh,
therapist.
my mistake. I put doctor on your title, so
That's
congratulations.
okay. Thank you for the upgrade. We have what we are all experiencing as a global trauma, and we've been going through a global shock. And part of that shock is realizing the loss of what we normally do in our everyday life. Part of what happens is you can have an experience of an emotional haze where you're kind of there, but you kind of feel you're not quite present like you were before. And then when you notice people walking around with masks and there's less cars and we're in our homes staying safe, we recognize that we're in a different experience in a different time. And we want to become adjusted to that. But as you know, and as all of us know, things are constantly changing because we're still in a stay-at-home and stay-in-shelter experience. And so there's a sense of loss and a sense of grief regarding what is occurring in the world and what's happening to each of us individually.
So this goes beyond losing someone you love, something that personal, that immediate connection. This also goes to missing out on your graduation or not being able to do a lot of the things that we're used to doing, right?
Well, that's absolutely true. We have different rites of passage in all the endeavors that we accomplish in our lives, and people not going to graduations, not going to work, having to work differently from home, having to support the family in new ways, and the family supporting themselves in new ways, is a challenging proposition.
So we need some tools to kind of cope with this, and I'm generally a pretty positive guy, and I think this has helped get us through this whole thing. Give us some tools that people could use if they're starting to feel that sense of closing in that grief.
So one of the things is there's a lot of different ways in which you can do this, but I'm going to make it really kind of in some simple ways.
Okay. Things
that you enjoy doing that give you some sense of hope or pleasure or a sense of community, I would encourage, and I encourage the people I work with to continue those things and actually do them more often. We have a lot of people having Zoom dinners with other people in other houses. So I know some people have had a wine dinner with people in other houses, children who are on Zoom and other sorts of ways of connecting with their fellow classmates are doing that as well. So really having meaningful connection is going to provide hope and connectiveness when we are experiencing a disconnection from the ways that things have been in the past.
You know, what's interesting to me is that you hit on something, this technology that allows us to connect the way we're connecting now. I Zoomed with my children last night, and we had a good laugh, and it was really fun. And for a moment there, it was magical. It was really, I mean, I when we finally said goodbye, I was a little sad, but it was also really uplifting.
Yeah, there's a sense of there's a famous psychologist named Carl Jung, and Carl Jung talked about the transcendent function, which is the function of the personality that can transcend the experiences they're having now to connect in new, meaningful ways. And I think you just described a perfect example of that in your conversation with your children. Some people like to garden, and seeing flowers or hearing a certain kind of music gives them a sense of warmth or a sense of the beauty of life and the beauty of the experience of living. And so I encourage the people I work with to have more of those experiences. And when they start to feel anxiety, or they start to feel sad, or feel sort of angst, the angst of what's next, which is part of what's anticipatory grief, waiting for the other shoe to drop, to then remind yourself of other things that have gone well but also to tap into things you like. Like I had someone I talked to the other day, when they were experiencing anxiety, they really like oranges. So when they start to experience anxiety, they go and they have an orange. And that helps them feel, and they taste the orange and the sweetness, and it gives them a different feeling.
Yeah, the connectivity to Earth. All right, so on the other side of this, as we're thinking about exiting from this paradigm that we're all living in right now in our homes, what can we anticipate will happen to our psyche as we enter? Is there going to be fear, and what's next?
Well, I think you just coined it perfectly, Carlos. The real issue is going to be the not knowing what's next. We don't know what it's going to look like because we are wanting it to be what it was. We're wanting to walk into that restaurant or go back to our job or take our kids on this vacation, to have that paycheck coming in after we've done a full day's work. So we don't know what that's looking like. And that in itself is sort of feeling some anticipatory grief, where we're imagining what it could possibly be, but we don't actually have the compass to figure out what it is yet, because we don't really know.
Well, I wish everyone well. Alan Liebert, I appreciate so much your thoughts on this. It's a really interesting subject, and hopefully we'll all get through this together happily and move on with our lives, no matter what brings. We never can anticipate what's going to happen tomorrow. So what we're feeling today, we just have to move forward. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much yourself. All right, have a great day.
You too.